Hey, book club, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? I hope so. Y'all, let's get into chapters 40 through 50. I think we have like 20 or 30 more chapters to go, but we're nearing the end, y'all. So let's get into this. So since Daphne quit, Monica hired Lewis to be the one to take Tori around to the places Monica needed her to be. He was the errand boy since the errand girl quit. He heads over to Tori's place and she wasn't expected to see him, but she knew he was the guy she saw at Monica's retail store earlier that day. He tells her that he's her new driver and he was just there to see if there was anywhere she needed to go. She said that she needed some groceries. They made it to the grocery store. Lewis stays a few steps behind her as if he was security, but he was really checking out her figure. And he was so deep in his thoughts that he didn't hear Tori ask him if he knew where she could find the cherries. And she told him if he wasn't so busy staring at her tail, he would have heard what she said. He tells her where they were. She does a little bit more shopping and they head to checkout. Lewis noticed that she really only had a bunch of junk food and he tells her that maybe she should get some real food. And Tori wants him to mind his business. Lewis was like, okay, yes ma'am, I'll stand right over here and mind my business. She checks out, they leave, and while waiting at the red light, Lewis was looking at how beautiful Tori was, but he could also tell that she had been through a lot. It was written all over her face and her eyes and everything. And he really didn't know that much about her. The only thing Monica told him was that Tori would be working for her for a couple of weeks. So Lewis asked her where did she want to go? Were there any more stops she needed to make? Tori really didn't know, she really didn't know what she wanted to do because Monica is the one that's telling her everything that she can do. So she did have a few more hours free before, she had to start another mission for Monica later on that night. But as she stared out the window, she said she wanted to go to the movies. Lewis thought that was pretty odd, but he took her to the movies and he went in with her. He gave her space in the theater. They watched the movie and then he took her home. When they made it to her place, he helped her get her groceries out, and since he didn't have anywhere to go, he asked Tori if she wanted some help. He really asked her that because when they looked at each other, he could really see the sadness in her eyes when they were standing in front of each other. And at first, Tori said no, but before she walked in, she was like, shoot, why not? Why not have some company? Come on up, child. So they sat on the balcony and Lewis couldn't help to feel like he knew her from somewhere. And as they continued to talk, Tori let him know that she used to be Nate's mistress. And she also told him her whole reason for being there, from living in LA to that's not really her apartment, and about Monica's plan. And when Lewis heard about the plan, he almost choked on his drink and he looked at her and said, dang girl, you're me. Tori didn't understand what he was talking about. And then Lewis told his story about Nate hiring him to seduce Monica. Nate put him up in a crib, got him a new wardrobe and all that. He told Tori, Monica is basically doing to you what Nate did to me. Tori couldn't believe it. All she could say was that Nate and Monica really deserved one another. But she wanted to know how did all of that work out for Lewis. And Lewis told her that she needs to be careful because there is a lot going on with Nate and Monica that she doesn't even have a clue about. And he understands that she needs money because he's been there. He told her that she seemed like a good person. And from what he could see, it looked like she'd been hurt in the past. And he wouldn't want her to go through that type of hurt again or something even worse. So he kissed her on the hand, told her to call him if she needed him or when she really wanted to get some real food and not just some snacks. And then he left. Later on that night, while Tori was getting ready, she played back in her mind the conversation she had with Monica when Monica called her back to the office. So instead of talking in the office, Monica motioned for Tori to step into one of the stalls, one of the dressing rooms, because she didn't want Nate popping up and coming into her office seeing Tori. Monica was already in her feelings about Daphne quitting, so she wanted to know if Tori was pulling out too. And Tori said that she wasn't. Monica gets up in Tori's face and says, so that means you're going to act like you got some sense, unlike the other one. And Tori wasn't understanding what all the hostility was for because she had done everything Monica asked her to do. And that night she had a date scheduled with Nate. So Monica tells Tori to do whatever she had to do to get Nate to sleep with her. Tori felt like rushing things would make Nate suspicious, but Monica didn't want to hear any of that. She felt like the sooner Nate trusted Tori, the sooner Monica could move on with the rest of her plan. And she wanted to make it clear to Tori that if she wanted that money, she better put in that work. Then she remembered Daphne driving her home and asking her what did the dragon lady say. Tori said it wasn't much, but then she asked Daphne if she could sit with her while she made a phone call. And the call was to Nate, checking to see if they were still on for the dinner. When she hung up, she told Daphne that's what Monica wanted her to do. Daphne had to remind Tori that Nate wasn't a fool, and that's one thing her and Daphne could agree on. Before getting out of the car, she asked Daphne if she was going to go get her son. Daphne said that she hadn't figured that whole situation out yet, but she will. And since they have gotten on the good foot with each other, they hugged and told each other to be careful. Then the doorbell rang and snapped Tori out of her thoughts. When she answered the door, Nate was a little thrown off by her jeans, V-neck t-shirt, and bare feet. But Tori said she had a rough day and wanted to know if it was okay if they ordered in. About 2 hours later, Nate and Tori had been eating Chinese food, drinking wine, and laughing like old friends. And in Tori's mind, they were, and that's why she couldn't make herself take advantage of him, especially with him being halfway lit. And even though she was laying her head in the pit of his arm, not once had Nate tried to touch her or kiss her. So she leaned up, poured them more wine, and Nate toasted to them bumping into each other at the gym. While drinking, Tori asked Nate for a kiss. Nate laughed a little bit and said he was good on it. He's married and he's a changed man. Tori said that it could be their little secret. And Nate still didn't budge. He said the only reason he was there was because she said they were going to go out. And plus he thought he was going to have some good news for her, but he's still working on that part. So Tori wanted to know if Monica knew he was there trying to give her some good news. But Nate said that Monica wouldn't understand because no matter how hard he tried to prove to her that he changed, he could tell that she didn't believe him. And he completely understood after all he put her through. Even with the way he treated Tori by setting her up with some dude that he hired. And then Nate took all of her money. He said that Tori seemed like she was okay, but he could only imagine what her life has been like. Tori tried to play it off and she said that it wasn't that bad, but as she sat there, she thought about that raggedy apartment, the roaches that would run off when she turned on the lights, and the rats she could hear scratching inside the walls when the lights were off. But the worst of the worst was Javon and his ways of trying to keep Tori in check, as he called it. And Nate could tell that she was thinking about something, so he asked her if she wanted to talk about it. At first, Tori was against it, but then she thought, why not? Why not lay all this pain at the feet of the man who caused it? So she told him about how things went downhill for her after she found out that the love of her life was somebody Nate planted into her life. How he took her money, her horrible life in LA, and she told him about Javon. And Nate couldn't believe what he was hearing. And then Tori stood up and she took her shirt off. Nate was like, hold up, what you doing? And Tori said, you said you wanted to know what I went through. Okay, y'all, trigger warning. Trigger warning. Mute this for about 5 minutes if you don't want to hear this part. Okay? I'm finna keep going. So after Tori removed her shirt, she also removed her undergarment and stood topless in front of Nate, where he noticed dark crater-like circles near her nipples, okay? And he was just sitting there with his mouth open. Tori told him that that was where Javon would put his cigarettes out when he felt like she did wrong. Nate could barely whisper the words, I'm so sorry. Tori tried to joke and say that it was no big deal because nothing compared to her back. And when she turned around, her back was covered with really thick raised scar tissue. The lines crisscrossed her skin from the lower part of her back up near her neck. Nate couldn't take it anymore. He slowly got up from the couch and passed Tori her shirt and undergarment and told her to put them on. Tori put them back on while Nate faced the window. She told him that he could turn around, and she could see the guilt in his eyes. He asked her why did she stay with that man, and Tori said she couldn't afford to leave. And Nate knew that it was because he had taken all of her money. Then Tori saw this evil flash across Nate's face. It was like his eyes got darker. Nate put on his jacket, took out a pen and a pad, and asked Tori to give him all of Javon's info. Tori wanted to know why, and Nate says, after all he put you through, do you really want to know? And Tori had a very strong suspicion about what Nate meant, so she gave him all of the information down to the make, model, and year of Javon's car. Nate thanked her, and then he left. Now over there with Freddie, he stopped by a CVS store and purchased some cheap scissors, a razor, and some crazy glue. He went into a gas station bathroom to nurse his wound. So he pulled the two torn sides of his wound together where the officer got one off on him, even though the bullet was still in there. He poured a few drops of the crazy glue along the seam and held it there until it didn't feel like it was coming apart again. He slowly removed his hands. Skin didn't separate, so he took a lot of paper towels and wrapped them around his thigh like a compression bandage. He then went on to shave his head and his beard because he knew the cops would be looking for him, and he was hoping this would buy him some time to find his baby. Like, this man really think he's about to get that baby. You know he has a lot of marbles missing, because what in Freddie's right mind will make him believe that the police would just hand him over a baby after everything he has done? Sure. So Monica has made it to Tabitha's place. She brought in all of her luggage, and Tabitha wanted to know if Monica would stay in a few days, weeks, or a few years, because girl, you brought everything that you have. Tabitha thought all of this had to do with the store, so she told Monica that they may be going through a slump right now, but she was confident that they'll be profitable again. And Monica let her know that she wasn't worried about the stores. And Tabitha just knew Monica moving in couldn't possibly have anything to do with her marriage to Nate the Great. And even though Monica didn't want to tell Tabitha about her plan because she knew her friend would go off on her, she just needed someone to talk to, someone who had absolutely nothing to do with her plan. So she told Tabitha what was really driving her crazy was her top secret operation to get sole custody of little Nathaniel. And before she could pour another shot of the brown, Tabitha took the bottle and said, okay, wait a minute. Explain this to me like I'm 5. And let me get a glass too, because I may need something stronger than this little soda to hear this foolishness. So Monica explains the plan to Tabitha and lets her know how far along she's gotten. And Tabitha is confused because the last she heard, Monica had custody of little Nathaniel. So Monica was like, yeah, he let me adopt him, but I don't have sole custody. Tabitha sarcastically says, oh, I get it. It's not really about little Nathaniel. You don't really want him. You just don't want Nate to have him. You're doing all of this out of spite. Monica said that wasn't true. And since Monica wanted to sit over there being delusional, Tabitha walked over and stood in her friend's face to talk to her face to face, because clearly she's not listening or comprehending what Tabitha is saying. So she tells Monica, listen friend, you remarried a man that you supposedly hate. You went and got one chick out of the hole, went and got the other one who was his mistress, brought her from LA to use her to seduce him. Then you're planning to burn down half of your house because in your mind, you'll be giving your son a better life. I hate to say this. I really don't, but I do. You're foolish, Monica. Now, what if this plan of yours doesn't work? Monica said it would, and Tabitha had to remind her how Daphne and Tori popped up at the store today, which could have really thrown a monkey wrench into the plan if Nate had shown up the way he's been popping up at the store lately. She wanted to know if it had even crossed Monica's mind that Nate might already suspect something. Monica said that Daphne and Tori won't be popping up at the store again because she took care of that, and Nate doesn't know anything. Monica feels like she has everything under control. Tabitha just shook her head and told Monica that she has never been in control when it came to Nate. Monica knew Tabitha was right and that she could give her a plethora of examples, but she shook that off and asked Tabitha if she thought she should just give up just because she's hit a few bumps in the road. Tabitha feels like those bumps are warning signs to a cliff that Monica is about to fall off of. She held Monica's hands and told her that if she hated Nate as much as she say, then she should leave him and go on with her life. But if she actually cares about Nate the way Tabitha thinks she does, then she should just be honest with herself, if what everybody else may think, even Tabitha, and just go and be with him and little Nathaniel. Monica thought about it and felt like that would be way easier than her plan, but she just couldn't see stopping now after everything Nate has done to her. And as far as she know, he's probably over there in bed with Tori right now. So Monica told Tabitha that she's going through with her plan, whether Tabitha liked it or not. Tabitha just looked at her with this sad look in her eyes, threw her hands up and said, okay girl, you got it, I'm going to bed. Now back in LA with Javon and his homeboy were at a club drinking and watching the women dance. Being the type of person Javon was and what people knew him for, he made sure he clocked everybody that was in there, from the older dudes trying to holler at the younger women, the woman sitting by herself in the business suit, and the women on the dance floor looking like they were about to burst out of their clothes. Javon told his homeboy that when the girl in the red dress came back to the bar, he was gonna holler at her, and his homeboy was like, "The girl, I think about you." So after a while, the girl that Javon had his eye on came to the bar, sat between him and his friend, and ordered a drink. When the bartender brought it to her, Javon paid for it. She thanked him and started to drink the drink very seductively. So Javon put his hand in his pocket, pulled out some white, and asked her if she wanted to party with him. The next thing you know, they're in the men's bathroom, painting the inside of their noses white. After a few more hits, the young lady air kissed him, thanked him, and said that she better get back out there with her friends. But Javon was watching the girl so much that he was getting on stip. The girl tried to leave, but Javon blocked the door, talking about, "Ain't no need to rush, we just getting started." She gave him a slight smile, trying to stay calm, and told him that she really needed to get back out there. He tells her, "Hey, give me 5 minutes." And now she's annoyed and tells him she ain't effing with his bitches. And she was trying to tell him to move out of the way, but before she could finish what she was saying, he asked her who the F she thought she was talking to. He said he was trying to be nice. Trigger warning, trigger warning. Mute this for about 5 minutes, okay? All right, I'm about to keep going. So he grabbed her by her arm and started taking her to the large stall at the end of the bathroom. She knocked his hand off of her and he backhanded her, which knocked her to the floor. He then grabbed her by her hair and slung her into the stall and tried to get his pants on book. So he's yelling at her, asking her if she thought she was just going to get something for nothing. He said he was about to teach her a lesson. And as the girl was trying to fight him away, he hears someone say, "Excuse me, I don't think the woman likes what you're trying to do to her." Javon looked up and noticed that it was the lady who was sitting in the corner wearing the business suit. So Javon didn't know if it was the brown, the white, or his homeboy trying to be funny. So he tells the lady to get out of the bathroom because he'd do the same to her. And that woman was Abby Kirk, Nate's secretary / investigator. Abby said she wasn't going anywhere. So Javon rushed at Abby, and without missing a beat, she sidestepped him, swept his ankle, and pushed him in the back so hard that he went chin first into that porcelain sink, and all he heard was a loud snap, and that pain brought him straight to his knees. But he found a way to get up, and he lunged at her again, and this time Abby pulled something small from her back, and with one flick of her wrist, it extended into a 3-segmented iron baton. She caught him right in the forehead, which made him hit the wall head first. All he saw was birds and darkness. He didn't know if he had lost consciousness or what. But then the light in the bathroom slowly started to come into view, and he heard Abby tell the young lady that she didn't want to be in there for the next part. And the next thing he heard was the girl heels running out of the bathroom, and then the door locking. Javon tried to tell Abby that she didn't have to do whatever it was she was about to do, but he could barely get the words out of his broken jaw, along with his mouth pooling blood. Abby shushed him and started rolling up his pants leg. He wanted to know why was she doing that to him, and Abby let him know that she was there on behalf of Tori Thomas, as she'd heard about the things he'd done, and that Tori has a friend who is very angry about those things. So that person sent her to pay him a visit because that friend doesn't want him to borrow Tori again. Abby is saying all of this as she's steady rolling his pants up and pushing his socks down to show the center of his shin. Javon said that he would never bother Tori again. He was trying to get those words out as best he could, and Abby let him know that she know he won't do it again, but a lesson must be taught, and that lesson would involve his legs, arms, and several ribs. Then she told him to brace himself as she lifted the metal baton over her head and brought it down with enough force to make Javon see a white light, and then everything went black. Now the next day, Monica had Tori go to lunch with Nate, but they couldn't sit on the inside. Monica wanted Tori to have them sit outside and to be flirtatious with Nate because she would have someone taking pictures of them. Those were the orders Monica gave Tori after she called to let Monica know that Nate had just left her house. Monica wanted to know, did Tori and Nate have a meeting in the bedroom? And Tori told her no, they didn't, because Nate didn't want to. But Monica wanted to make it clear to Tori that it wasn't up to Nate to make that decision. It was Tori's job to convince Nate that he wanted it and to do everything to make it happen. Tori was getting frustrated, and she told Monica that she knew how to seduce a man, especially hers. She explained to her again that Nate just didn't want to. Monica really wasn't getting it, and Tori let her know that Nate said that he's a married man, he loves his wife, and that he didn't come over there for that. He said he's a changed man. So Monica tells Tori, change his mind back if you want to get this money. So as soon as her and Nate were sitting outside on their dinner date, Nate could tell that something was bothering her. She seemed really preoccupied. Tori told Nate that she was fine and that it was sweet of him to be concerned. Then she leaned over to give him a kiss on the cheek, and she held it long enough in hopes that whoever would be out there taking pictures caught it. And before she sat back in her seat, she knocked Nate's fork into his lap on purpose, and then she reached down to get it. And before she sat back in her seat, Nate looked a little embarrassed, and Tori told him not to look like that or people would think she was putting her hands to work or something. Nate started laughing and told Tori that she hadn't changed a bit. So Nate tells her that he planned this date so that he could tell her about the good news. Nate tells her that he moved his secretary over to work for his VP. He wanted to make sure it's a good fit before he offered Tori her job back. Tori couldn't believe her ears. She was like, come again? And Nate knew she would respond like that. He said that he really wants her to come back and work for him, and she'll get a huge raise and everything. And he would be lying if he said that she wasn't good at her job, because she was a wonderful secretary. Now Tori was feeling bad because of the part she was playing in Monica's plan, and it would be good to have a job and a nice check. She could get a nice condo, purchase her own clothes, get a car. But she knew there was no way she could accept Nate's offer because she's working for Monica. And the only way she could would be to tell Nate everything. So Tori flips it and asks Nate what makes him think he won't mess things up again by getting into a relationship with her. She says, how can you handle my fine self walking in and out of your office all day? Nate agreed that Tori is a gorgeous woman, but like he said, he's a changed man. He wanted to know if they had a deal. Tori played every possible scenario over and over in her head, but the only way it could happen was if she told Nate everything and she didn't think he would forgive her if she did. So she asked him if Monica knew, and Nate said that he would tell her before Tori started working. Tori let him know that Monica wouldn't believe that he was that changed. And the last thing she wants to do is make Nate's life at home a living hell. So she rejected his offer. Nate was disappointed, and Tori told him that he would just have to think of another way to pay her back. Nate said he'll start working on that. Then he told her that he had another surprise, and he let her know that he had a friend pay Javon a little visit, and that he is certain that Javon would never harass her again. Tori couldn't contain herself. She jumped up and planted kisses all over his face. She had forgotten all about Monica and whoever was supposed to be out there taking pictures. She was just so happy to have that burden off of her. Now, while all of this was going on, Monica had found her a spot in a small parking lot across the street. While she was sitting there watching, she replayed the conversation that she had with Tabitha. Her thoughts went back to whether she still liked Nate, let alone loved him. As she waited for Tori and Nate to take their seats, she was hoping they didn't even show up. She didn't know if she felt that way because she was tired of trying to make her plan work, or if she really wanted to believe Nate had changed. But when she looked through the picture she took with her camera and saw Tori kiss Nate on the cheek, reach in his lap, and then plant several kisses on him, she knew she was right when she said he hadn't changed. And as she started up the car, she noticed that she had a single tear on her cheek that she wiped away. Now over there with Trevor, he is working my nerves, okay? So Daphne moved in the guest room just like Trevor told her to, and now she was sitting in the baby's room spending time with him. Jennifer knocks on the door and tells Daphne that Trevor wanted her to come down and make dinner. Trevor was sitting at the head of the table holding the baby while Jennifer stood over his shoulder tickling the baby. Daphne had been cooking for an hour. She could hear Jennifer and Trevor talking, and Jennifer was trying to convince Trevor to put Daphne out because Jennifer felt like there was no reason for Daphne to be there anymore since Jennifer was basically the baby's mom now. And to convince And to convince Trevor that she was right, she did what she do best, talking into the mic. Daphne could hear Trevor moaning, so she dropped one of the cooking utensils to break up the little situation. Then a while later, Jennifer put the baby to bed, and Daphne brought out the food and served them their food, and she just stood there. Trevor told her to sit and eat with them. Daphne didn't want to, but Trevor ordered her to. After they were finished, even though Daphne didn't eat, she just picked up her food. Trevor said he enjoyed the food. Jennifer complained about it. While Jennifer was going on and on, Daphne looked over at Trevor to see if he was going to say anything. But all he said was, like I said, the food was good. Then he told Daphne to clear the table. When she went to grab Jennifer's plate, Jennifer tells her next time she'll show her how to cook. At this point, Daphne was fed up. She told Jennifer maybe she should, but that's only if she could find time to get her face out of Trevor's lap. Jennifer tried to slap Daphne, but Daphne caught her hand. Trevor tells Daphne to let Jennifer go and to apologize to her. Daphne looked at Trevor like he was crazy, and she told him she wasn't apologizing. And before she knew it, Jennifer got one off on her. And she told Daphne to apologize, but Daphne said nothing. And Jennifer hit her 4 more times before Trevor finally yelled, "Stop." By this time, Daphne's bottom lip had split and it was bleeding. He tells Jennifer that he needs to speak to her in the kitchen, and he tells Daphne to get the keys because he needed to go to the store. Now back over there with Freddie, he has made his way to Macy's. He remembered that Kia's mom worked there, and if anyone knew where the baby was, it would be her. He found the SUV her mom drove, and he was hoping the door was unlocked, and it was. He got in the back seat and covered himself with some clothes that looked like she was going to drop off at the cleaners. He had dozed off for a minute because of the pain meds he picked up earlier, and when he sat up to look out of the window, he saw Kia's mom and another co-worker walking out. He covered himself back up and listened for her to get in the car. When she got in, he heard her start crying, and she prayed to the Lord to give her the strength to endure the loss of her child. She started the car and started to drive. Once Freddie felt like they had gotten a safe distance away, he rose up quickly, put his hand over her mouth to grip to her neck, and he told her to take him to where his son was, and if she didn't, she'll be joining Kia. Now later on that night, Nate and Monica went out to dinner. Nate could tell something was off with Monica, and she used the stores as her excuse again, and he told her that he spoke to one of his financial consultants and they said that they could help Monica. Monica, being in her feelings about those pictures, got snappy and asked Nate what else did he do at work, and she regretted it as soon as she said it because she didn't want to make him suspicious. He said the routine work stuff, and even though it had been a long day, he still had enough energy to have a little fun with his wife. Monica didn't give in because in her mind she believed that Nate and Tori got together after their dinner date. So she pushed Nate off and told him that they shouldn't because, somebody might see them. Nate looked around, didn't see anybody, and said, well, maybe a quickie then. Monica forced his hand away and told him no. Nate was so confused, he asked her if he had done anything wrong. She said no, even though she was thinking about the picture with Tori's hand in his lap. Nate could tell Monica was serious about not wanting to be with him, so he felt like it was because he had hurt her so badly and that he'll probably never be able to make it up to her. But he let her know that he is trying. He told her that he realized that she was the only woman for him, the only woman he ever truly, really loved. He said she was his soulmate. He said that he would die for her, and he was serious about it. Monica couldn't even make herself believe him because of all of the things he'd done, and then the pictures she just took of him and Tori. Nate leaned over, gave her a soft kiss on the cheek, and then went to his car. Child, Monica is crazy. Like, girl, how are you mad about something that you set up? And it's because, just like Tabitha said, you still love that man. Now back over there with Daphne and Trevor, they are on their way to the store. Daphne was crying. Trevor was over there with his arms across his chest, not wearing his seatbelt as usual, and that always upset Daphne. She wanted to tell him to put on his seatbelt, but she was scared that he would threaten to put her out. As they drove, all Daphne could think about was the fact that she was playing nanny to her own son, and she thinks this fake ride to the store was Trevor's way of telling her that she had to leave. So she tells Trevor that she'll apologize to Jennifer. Trevor says, but when I asked you to, you refuse. Daphne says the way Jennifer talks to her is too much and that Trevor just allows it. She had to remind him that she is a good mother and that she doesn't deserve to be treated like that. Trevor says he knows that she's a good mother and she will be an even better mother if he allowed her to be. And she told him to let her be her son's mother. Stop holding her back. Trevor said that would never happen because Daphne lied and tried to say that his baby was Nate's baby when she knew the truth. So as long as he lives, that baby doesn't have a mother. He is that baby's only parent. And the reason he brought Jennifer into their lives was to make Daphne suffer, to let her see how it feels to be denied your own child. Daphne was crying so hard, she told him he succeeded and that she understands now. Trevor tells Daphne that she'll never understand how he feels because she's a heartless woman. Daphne just knew that Trevor was preparing to tell her that she would never be a part of the baby's life and that she had to leave. She was begging and pleading to him not to say what she felt like he was about to say. And for the first time, Trevor had an apologetic tone, but it was still firm when he told her that she didn't consider how he would feel when she did what she did to him. And as Trevor began to go into the reasons for his decision, Daphne had zoned out. She could hear bits and pieces because all she saw was them making it back to the house, her trying to leave with the baby, but feeling Trevor grabbing her around her waist as he was throwing her out of the house. And then he would get a restraining order against her and she wouldn't have a leg to stand on. Then she slowly started to come back to reality and all she heard was bits and pieces. She heard, "Find a place to stay. I'll call the police. Nothing you can do." And Daphne started screaming, "No, no, no." And at that moment, Daphne decided she'd rather die than to be completely removed from her son's life. And as she pressed down on the accelerator, up ahead, she saw a huge oak tree. She could hear Trevor screaming, telling her to slow down, but she kept going. He tried to grab the wheel, but she snatched it. Trigger warning, trigger warning. Muted. 5 minutes. All right, I'm going to keep going. Daphne took them straight into it with such speed that the car hydroplaned into the tree. She hit it with enough force that it knocked branches that were 30 feet above them to the ground. When she looked over to where Trevor was, he wasn't there because he'd gone through the windshield. He hit the tree and landed belly down on the compacted hood of the car. Daphne was still in her seatbelt. She started moving her toes and fingers and arms to make sure she wasn't paralyzed. She fumbled with the seatbelt and bumped against the door several times to get out. When she reached for the door handle, she heard a faint call of her name, and she was shocked to see that Trevor was still able to talk even though his body was so mangled. She was only looking out, and he was only looking out of one eye. He couldn't move because his legs were bent toward his head. She moved in closer to hear what he was trying to say. Trevor gasped through short breaths and said, "You stupid bitch. You got us in an accident?" And Daphne couldn't believe it. And whatever sympathy she had for him in that moment, all drained from her body. Even with him about to go to the upper room or the forever sauna, he was still being evil. So Daphne laid her face as close to Trevor's as she could, and she told him that she didn't get in an accident and that she did it intentionally. She said, "If you just would have let me care for our son like a mother should, you wouldn't be smashed all over this windshield like a effing bug." The only part of Trevor's body that was moving was that one eyeball. He told Daphne to tell their son that he loved him. Daphne said she's not telling their son that, or that he was a horrible man. She asked Trevor did he want to know what she would tell their son. And Trevor raised his eyebrow and she said, "Absolutely nothing. I will tell him absolutely nothing about you at all." Child, that's the end of that part. Baby, get down in the comments and tell me what y'all think about this plan with that Monica just having her head that she convinced herself that it's going to work out. Do you think Tori's going to give in and decide to just go back to work for Nate and tell him everything? And did you think Daphne was going to do something like this to Trevor? Let me know. Get down in the comments and I'll talk to y'all later.